Hello, welcome back to the Believe You Are a Good Mom podcast. I have a good mom with us today, Marielle Melling. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Good. I know you're good because we've been chatting for a while.
Yes.
I already knew that. So, Marielle, will you introduce yourself?
Of course. Yeah. So my name is Marielle Melling, and I have a degree in health education. Lucky to be mom of 5 incredible kiddos, and I'm the author of Peace Amidst the Mayhem and the founder of Lovin' Life with Littles. So I help parents simplify and bring more calm, confidence, and joy into their lives.
I love it. Of course, I love it because I love to talk to people who are doing the same thing as me. So I love this idea of loving life with littles because I always wanted to be a mom. And now I have a house full of littles and I find myself just trying to get away from them all the time. And my husband is like, why do you keep needing to like get out of the house? I'm like, so part of it is I think accepting that, that of course I love my life and I am a person and need some alone time and things like that. So we'll dig into that. But first, also I wanted to just mention your book is called Peace Amidst the Mayhem.
Yeah.
And that is what I talk about all the time. Like there's mayhem swirling around us. Life with littles is mayhem. And we can, not that we're going to all the time, but we can feel peace amidst the chaos is usually what I say, I guess, chaos.
Absolutely.
So that's awesome. I can't wait to read your book. I just heard of it the other day. So I don't know where I've been. It's been out since 2019, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go back to that because I'm on this kick about alone time, me time. And people have always told me, like you need to wake up before your kids so that you can have some alone time. And I think I basically worshipped my sleep. I'm like, are you kidding me? But just in the last 6 months, I've started doing this and it's absolutely revolutionized my life. And so first I want to say to the people who are like, no, that's okay. Like there's times and seasons for everything. And when you're in the drowning season and you really like, especially with newborns and things like that, like sleep really is really important. We value sleep.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I'll let you talk. That wasn't really a question, but
yeah. Oh, just I guess on that getting alone time.
yeah.
I call it personal quiet time, PQT.
So
and I think, like you were saying, there are going to be seasons where it happens in the morning, and there are going to be seasons. I remember one time basically being like, okay, everybody's telling me I should wake up early. Everybody's telling me I should wake up early, but I don't really want to wake up early, but maybe I should wake up early, doing that internal debate. And finally, like coming to so much peace about, no, you do not need to wake up early right now, but you still need to have your time. So whenever you find it, whether it's waking up early or first thing when the kids go down for a nap or have some independent playtime, whatever that is, I have found that when I have at least, I like to say aim for 20 minutes a day. Sometimes it's a little shorter, sometimes it's a little longer, but 20 minutes a day to really connect with what is important to you and to breathe deep and to just have that quiet time to really center and to figure out, okay, what is important to me? What am I learning right now? What do I want to learn more about? Some people like to meditate during that time, read scripture, pray, whatever it is that you need, but having a little bit of time to yourself that is quiet every day is incredibly powerful.
Yeah. And what's the number one thing for self-care? Exercise.
Exercise. Yes, exercise. Yeah. So I always say exercise is what we call a high bang for your buck self-care thing, because there are incredible benefits. I know that a lot of times we talk about weight loss and maintenance and things like that when we're talking about exercise, but far, far, far beyond all of that is our mental and emotional health benefits that come from exercise, from moving our bodies. We get all those great chemicals. We get long-term benefits for, all the different pieces, everything that's going on inside of us is benefited when we exercise. And it doesn't have to be alone even. Sometimes it is, right? But sometimes we're pushing the kids in the stroller, we're meeting a friend for a walk, or we're playing basketball or whatever it might be. So we can also bring in the social side of things, which is huge for self-care and really making connections and strengthening those things. So finding a way to move is huge. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us about what you do on Wednesdays on Instagram.
Yeah. So Wednesdays on Instagram, thanks, Emily. I do what I call move and muse. And so I just get on there and when you watch me, you're like, that's not a workout. And no, it's not really a workout because I can't actually stay in I can't stay on the camera when I actually do my workout. So I usually will either work out before and then stretch out, or kind of warm up and then work out after. But we just move, and I just encourage people to move. And I know lots of people, listen while they're on a stroller walk or doing the dishes or whatever. And we muse, we just chat about different parenting and personal development topics.
Yeah, it's super fun. I just binged a bunch before we got on here and learned a lot of things. So, and I love it that you're just there with your little hand weights and talking and doing that, because that's something I've started doing in the mornings, is just whatever I feel like doing, instead of like, we always feel like, and I know we've said this buzzword, like it's a red flag word for me every time I hear myself think should.
Yeah.
So we should do this and we should do that and should, right? So we should have a schedule and we should be doing things. But it's like, I just come downstairs and I'm like, what do I want to do right now? Like, what am I feeling? And so sometimes it'll be yoga, sometimes it'll be weights, sometimes it'll be scripture study, sometimes it'll be meditation. It's not like I have to do all these things every single day. It's just like, what do I want to do today? And letting myself have that flexibility is so liberating, instead of just being bogged down by the shoulds and the have tos and the supposed tos.
Yeah. When I hear a should, I like to stop and say, okay, what's the real answer? And it's either I will, or I won't, I want to, or I don't. Right. Because should is just sitting in a place of guilt.
Yes.
And where is that should coming from? So I like to just kind of, should is like you said, it's like a red flag. It's like, hey, pay attention. Why are you shoulding on yourself here? And how do you really feel about it? What's really the best for you and your family?
Exactly. And just a quick hack, I like to change the shoulds to could. Oh, I could do that. Do I want to? No. Okay, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I could.
That's huge.
And
then it's really neat when you're able to walk away and say, no, that's not for me right now. And just feel really confident in that. Yep. Yeah. Perfect. Now we can go on with no guilt.
Yes. So good. All right, cool. So another thing that I was learning about this morning in a move and muse from a while ago, though, is finding answers to your parental questions. So when I was a new mom, I bought all the books and I read all the books, and all the books said different things. And now books are still books. You just wrote a book, but there's Instagram and there's podcasts and there's all the things, right? There's so much information coming at us.
Yeah.
And what I use information for is to beat myself up that I'm not doing all those things, right? Because I should, right? Or historically, I kind of fell into that trap, right? And so I love to shift it to be like finding answers to our questions within ourselves, within our own intuition, following the Holy Ghost, whatever you want to call it. Like, God gave us these kids. He knows that they're the perfect kids for us, and that we have what it takes to raise them in the way he wants us to. He wouldn't trust us with his precious souls if that wasn't the case. And so really, like, even taking this time to be able to meditate, to pray, to get in touch with him to help us get answers to our questions, instead of frantically looking for the latest expert on Instagram, or what book can I read, or who can I call and ask, because we just want outside validation that it's the right thing to do versus it's just the thing we want to do. So try. What do you think about that?
I think that it's a really neat time to be alive, because we do have so much information and we know so much more. Sometimes I talk to my mom and she's like, I wish I would have known that, about emotional regulation. And I wish I would have known that about even about bonding and brain. We have so much cool information right now. And at the same time, like you were saying, that can also be really overwhelming, and it can be really guilt inducing, because I'm not doing all the things that I'm not doing. And so that's one thing that I really do like to do with parents, is say, okay, what really matters most, right? When it gets down to it, that's how we simplify, is we say, this is what matters most. And when I do that, everything else is hit or miss and whatever, and I don't have to care about all that other stuff. And so when we are consuming information, I love to listen to podcasts, I love to read books, I love to talk with people like you, and I love learning from other people. And at the same time, not making that be a checklist of things that I should be doing, right? So it's finding that balance for me where we are. And that's part of what that quiet time is for me, where I do keep learning. I do keep reading every day. I always have a book that I'm reading or something that I'm listening to, right? And at the same time, I stay grounded in what matters most. And when we get down to it, every single time, like the longest study that we have about adult health and development, the wisdom leaders around there, what do we always find? The best predictor of health and happiness is our relationships.
Yeah.
Right? Do we have strong relationships? Do we feel unconditionally loved? And are we connected and loving other people? So when we're looking at our kids, like that is the number one thing that we can provide for them, is to have that relationship with them, to provide unconditional love, to teach them how to be loved and to love other people. When we're looking at ourselves, do I have that kind of connection? So when we have that number one thing in place, everything else is just kind of like cherry on the top, like, oh, wonderful. We can add that or not, or we can, get the laundry done today or tomorrow, or, all those other things can kind of fall away when we have that number one thing in place. And when it is interesting because we are not naturally, and not everybody is, it doesn't always come easy to bond with our children or with our spouse, or, to do relationships is not always easy, and it gets messy in the day to day. And so there is place for continually learning and for finding, I need to repair, I need to apologize because I said something that was not kind, or I reacted in a way that was not how I want to be. But at the end, it always kind of starts and ends in here, right? Like, we have that gut feeling like, oh, there's a way for me to improve this, or, oh, I did something wrong, or, oh, that really was a good moment. Like that felt really good. And sometimes as moms, we don't sit in that enough, right?
Sure.
Like when we've handled the temper tantrum and we were like calm and cool, do we sit back and pat ourselves on the back and go, way to go, me, way to go, mom? So it's kind of like tuning in to what is really happening inside of us, and then implement or like adding on from other places and other things.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that so much, to think what matters most and what matters most in this moment, like to remember that, because when relationships matter most, it matters less that they just made a huge mess.
Yeah.
Because I've noticed lately, like, okay, why am I so irritated, annoyed, frustrated? Like, what are my biggest triggers? It's always about mess,
Yes.
And so I'm like, what matters more, my child or the couch? Like,
absolutely.
Well, the child's washable. so I'm trying to protect the couch. But it's like, who cares in the end, Or if they're kicking the seat in the van, it's like, they really need to stop doing that because they're going to break the seat and then it's not safe. So safe is important. Right. But I'm like, but at what cost, right? At what cost are we keeping the couch clean? The cost is to the relationship, right? Or during COVID, when my son was doing virtual school, I reminded myself of this every day. I'm like, what's more important, that he sit in front of a screen, supposedly learning some math, or our relationship? Because the relationship was suffering big time.
Yeah, it gets strained under those kinds of circumstances.
Yeah.
I have a little mindfulness technique, I guess you could call it, that I love to use throughout the day. And it's when I feel that frustration, or when I feel that irritated or losing patience, we know those moments. Sit back and take 3 deep breaths and just let yourself feel it. Right? Because we know studies show when we try to suppress what we're feeling or ignore it, it actually makes it worse.
Yeah.
So we just sit and feel and name it. Okay, I'm really frustrated right now because nobody's listening to me. I'm really irritated because the house is still a mess. I'm really overwhelmed because dinner was supposed to be on 45 minutes ago, whatever it is. 3 deep breaths, feel that feel, and then use what I call the BUT principle. My mom always used to say, BUT stands for bottom underlying truth. And so we find really what is more important. And it's exactly what you're saying right here. Like, okay, I'm feeling super frustrated, but the bottom underlying truth is I love my kids and I want to have a really strong relationship with them. So then I get to choose how I want to move forward intentionally with that grounded presence, right? Like no judgment on my emotion and how I'm feeling. I just get to feel it. And then I get to choose how I want to move forward intentionally. And it's really cool because then we can, we can ask them to stop kicking the seat, but we get to do it in a way that feels really good, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like we don't have to like give up on this idea of having a home that or teaching to respect things or cleaning up or any of those other things.
Mm-hmm.
But when they become secondary, we actually get better results also.
Yeah. And if in a beautiful theory, we were, all peaceful and relaxed and fun, right? I always want to be fun.
Yeah.
Then we can clean up together or whatever, and then it actually builds the relationship instead of tearing it apart when I come down completely dysregulated, freaking out about the mess I just made and all the things. So
yeah. And when it gets down to it, when we're talking about, do they listen to us? The number one predictor of that is our relationship. Like, are we connected with them? That is at the end of the day, like consequences and bribes and all those kinds of things will work in the short term, but in the long term, really that relationship and that connection that they feel with the caregiver is what is going to motivate them to listen and to start to take in those values for themselves, right? Oh, I want to live in a clean space. I want to take care of my things. I want to be kind to my sibling. All of those kinds of values are born from that place of them feeling unconditionally loved, them respecting the caregiver because this person loves me and cares about me first and foremost.
Yeah. That connection for cooperation, right?
Yeah.
And of course, all of these only work if the mom is regulated first, right? And so I love that piece about the emotional regulation, breathing, feeling the feelings instead of stuffing them, because that's what's making them explode. And all of that, of course, is what we do in coaching.
Yep.
Like regulate the mom first, and then you can do all the fun tips, tricks, tools, hacks, and things that you learned on Instagram. But if you are in a state, then none of those are going to happen, right?
Yeah. I remember at one point in my parenting too, being like, because I've always been a pretty patient person. And I just remember thinking like, I don't want to just like act patient. I want to actually feel patient, right? Because there are times when you're just like inside, like, no. And really what it came down to is that like, we have these emotions that are telling us things. And what are they telling us? In the moment, they're telling us that that couch is more important than my kid. Okay, I get to listen to that. And then I get to decide, is that actually true? And when I come back to like, no, it's not actually true, that's when the emotion goes away. That's when I actually get to feel patient too, not just like pretend to be patient on the outside.
Yeah, because we've received that message from the emotion instead of beating ourselves up for feeling irritated again. It's like, it's okay. It's just a feeling. Let's get the message so that the feeling's not like the nagging toddler.
Exactly.
Telling you over and over and over. So fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, any more last nuggets of wisdom you want to share with us?
Oh, I could talk all day with you, Emily.
I know, right? This is my favorite. But I have to go implement some of them now.
I know. I guess last thoughts are to spend a little time in what's going well.
Oh, good.
A lot of times when we are surrounded by the chaos, it's really easy, and we are wired to recognize what's going wrong and the negative things and things like that. So to spend a little time, whether that's in your quiet time that we talked about every day, whether that's in your away time, or if that is in little practices that you pull in during the day, but to find time to be in that appreciation mode. What is going well? What am I doing well right now? What are my kids? Where are they thriving? Where are they flourishing? Spending time just appreciating my baby is this is the last year that my baby's home, and I am like dying, right? Because I've just loved having them home. But are we spending time just soaking up being together, right? Letting some of that other stuff go and just look in their eyeballs and listen to their stories, the same stories over and over and over, and the questions and all of those little things. Spend a little time in that place of appreciation, and it just brings everything up, because there are really a lot of good things. I know people who are listening to this podcast are already doing a lot of good things.
Yes. That's so good. We have got to give equal airtime, right, to what's going right, instead of just letting our brains go wild with finding the problems or making problems where there aren't any, and all the things that we have to do. And a lot of that comes back to, like you said, the relationship with ourselves too.
Yeah.
So if we want to be present with our kids, if we want to help them, we want to care about them, we really do have to, make sure that we're not beating ourselves up, because our inner voices was coming out of our mouth too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so good. Okay. Well, share with us where we can find you.
Perfect. It's Lovin' Life with Littles. So website, www.lovinlifewithlittles, LOVIN, lifewithlittles.com. And then the same on Instagram and Facebook, Lovin' Life with Littles.
So fun. Okay. Well, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.